Good evening, I suppose. Just so I can kind of get a feel for who I'm talking to. Are you guys, you've obviously all got an interest in starting your own business. Has anyone actually done it yet? Or are we all thinking? Okay, so we've got a bit of a mix. Okay, I think out of 3 companies tonight, I'm the newest of the 3. Just about to end my 6 months of trading. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, to say the least, and a bit of a lots of experiences along the way. When I was asked to speak tonight, I was asked if I could give a real kind of honest opinion and an honest view of what the first 6 months have been like. So that's exactly what I intend to do. If you've got any questions during it, feel free to fire them at me. I'm not shy. Okay, so we're a company called the Expo People. Who are we? What do we do? Okay, as I mentioned, we actually formed the company in January 2013. I actually made the decision on Christmas Day last year that I was going to hand my notice in as soon as I get back after Christmas. That led to me, I had to serve quite a long notice period to finish off some of the projects I was working on. Actually led me to go full time in April 2013. And it's going up to the end of our 6-month period. What we provide is we provide various services around exhibitions and events. Are you all familiar with what an exhibition is? Without wanting to be passionate. But obviously it's a specific type of event aimed at displaying products and communicating kind of your brand towards a specific tailored group of companies. One of the things I offer is exhibition sales. We offer consultancy. I'll touch more on these as we go through the presentation. We work on 2 forms of event. One B2B events are business to business, so trade shows, if you like, where companies are looking to go meet distributors, partners, agents, that sort of thing. And B2C events, which are where companies have a product and they're looking to sell and exchange cash on the day direct with the customer. Okay, so take a look at our website, I'll put the details on, give you a bit more of a feel of what we do. So on the sales side of things, these are the projects I've been working on since we've started. Some have, in all honesty, some have been much more successful than others. Some have not done very well at all, but that's kind of what we're trying at this stage. You've got to try and put yourself out there and try different bits and bobs. So as you can see, there's no real kind of theme towards the shows that I'm working on, but continually looking for opportunities to find new sales projects. I'm a big believer in that an exhibition stand is an exhibition stand, and anyone that goes there has the same goals. They're looking to go and make money and get a return on that. So if you kind of understand the ethos of the company that you're dealing with, I think you've got a good chance of being able to get them to your event and convince them that they can have a good return on that. Okay, you'll notice on there, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a quick video, or a snippet of a quick video if it will work. This was happened about 3 weeks ago now, and it was the event. Skip through some adverts. I should have got this out. But this was an event that happened down in London at the Excel Centre, and my company, as the Expo People, we had responsibility for selling every single one of the exhibition stands there. Okay, we came in at a point where the guys who had set up the exhibition, just to clarify, it's called a food festival, but by all intents and purposes, it's an exhibition. It's an exhibition centre, there's exhibition stands there. They were struggling to shift the space because people didn't necessarily believe in the concept, so they needed someone to be a real driving force. I don't know if we can get any volume. It's not too important. So as you can see, it's essentially a large venue. Lots of individual companies have a pitch. They're doing whatever they do. Lots of them are cooking hot food on the spot to sell to consumers. Some of them are selling cooking equipment, things like that. And some of them are selling things that are just a little bit kind of related to the target audience. For example, this is the Halal Food Festival. One of the big people, well, one of my aims was to get companies who aren't necessarily food related, but bring some people who are really targeting the Muslim market, because obviously they're going to meet lots of them there. It does look really empty on that day. That was a Friday, which was a trade day, which was great because we got buyers from the likes of Harrods, Morrison's, Tesco's, Asda, Sainsbury's, all there looking to source new products, which is great because that's exactly what these guys want. On the Saturday and Sunday of the event, it was packed. We couldn't fit everyone into the hall who wanted to be there, which was brilliant. All these guys got a return on their money, so they were really, really chuffed. So I just hope that kind of gives you a feel for what my type of events are like. It's a bit of a different one, but okay. I decided to take a little bit of a twist on this, and just, I'm not going to take full credit for this. This was an article I read and it kind of set the cogs in motion a little bit, about how there's quite a lot of comparisons in the first 6 months of my business and what I imagine it's like to have a baby. I'm not going to have one, and just hopefully a bit more of a light-hearted look of what I've experienced thus far. Okay, I don't know if you can read that. Decision as I'm drunken or forced. Make of that what you will. The people that I seem to meet, maybe several reasons why I started a business. Like me personally, it was about something I've always known I wanted to do, and I had, you know, probably the standard ones for most of us. We want to make a decent sum of money, we want to be in control of our own destiny, we want to control what you're doing for your job. That was my reason. You meet more and more people who kind of have different reasons for it. It might be that you've made redundant and you have to find a job. It may be that you can't find a job, so you start to be limited. So for me, it was all about, there was perhaps a 2-year build-up to actually make the decision and make the plunge, which possibly fueled by a couple of glasses of wine on Christmas Day. But maybe it's something worth thinking about, is what is the real genuine reason you are interested in starting a business? Because I think if you don't have something that you generally believe in, and a reason to kind of back up your judgment then why are you doing it? If you think about all of the consequences of that decision in the same sort of way, it's a big deal. You know, it's a big deal financially, it's a big deal in terms of your reputation, your employability and things. It changes lots of different things in your life, so what's the real reason you're doing it, and have you thought it through? Oops, let's go that one. I'm sure these guys will agree with that. Both having a baby and starting a business results in a serious lack of sleep. Alright, that's one thing I found really tough actually, if I'm brutally honest. I work long hours, without question. You sometimes wake up in the middle of the night in a blind panic. I used to be the calmest man on the planet, practically horizontal, before I started doing this, and that's all gone. Good budget seems to have grown. But yeah, it's going to be tiring. That was one of the first things that people said to me, it's going to be tiring. You're going to have to work to deadlines and just be prepared for that. Kids can be expensive. Okay. Now, I've kind of got two sides to this. Obviously, there's lots of different ways of testing your idea in a relatively cheap manner that there's no problem with. But I just want you to maybe think outside the box about, you know, what are the costs of actually starting your business other than the actual direct business costs. Because that's possibly something that I didn't actually think about, if I'm honest, in as much detail as I should have done. And when you start to think about, I don't live with my parents. I live at home on my own. So I've kind of got all these other things to think about, and the reality of the situation in the business that I do is you don't sit down on day one and money starts coming in and that starts to cover the bills. That doesn't happen. And I would question if there's many businesses that does actually happen. So you have to be ready for that, and can you kind of deal with everything else, whether it's cutting down on certain things, whether it's covering the rent, the mortgage, keeping the missus or the fella happy, whatever you need to do. Are you ready for that? Can you afford to do it? Alright? Again, just things to think about. I'm in a position now, and I was just saying to Sam before we started, I'm 6 months in and I'm about to take my first piece of money out of the business next week. So I've gone 6 months without having a penny coming in at all. So, you know, kind of all of that has had to come out of my own pocket for 6 months, which is it's not cheap. We know living's not cheap anyway, but if you've not got money coming in, you know, how do you support that? Your love for them can change on an almost hourly basis, alright? Not that I'm saying anyone doesn't love their children, I'm sure most parents do. My point is that the one thing that I found really tough, and I'm sure I'm not unique in that, in kind of my startup journey, was there is and it sounds so cliche and I hate cliches, so many highs and lows within a short space of time, particularly in that first 2-3 months that you're starting up. You can quite easily go into a meeting on a morning, you come out of it buzzing, brilliant, I'm going to be a millionaire by Christmas. Then you'll get back in and there's a tax bill standing, or someone else has rang you and pulled out the work that you thought you secured, or something like that. There's so many ups and downs that you've got to keep such a level head, because otherwise it can get on top of you. It was something that my kind of family picks up on, that I was just looking exhausted, and I was generally feeling ill, because I weren't really looking after myself in the same way. I was getting too engrossed in the actual running the business and trying to make it work and trying to drive it forward. So just be aware that there will be days where you think, why bloody hell have I done this? But then there'll be other days where you think, yeah, I love what I do. And there should, fingers crossed, there'll be more of those than the bad ones, but you will have the bad ones as well, so absolutely be prepared for that. Okay. Everyone else is always a better parent than you. You kind of see the scenario in the supermarket where there's screaming kids being dragged around by parents, and then there's the idyllic kids kind of sat there. Give illustrate a nice middle class family and a little tiny terror. What I found really interesting when I started going to these sort of meetings and formal networking meetings with various people is, until you really dig down and get to know people, everyone's got a stock answer for how's it going. When have you ever heard anyone say, how's it going, how's business? No one ever says crap. No one ever says there are problems. So it's, yeah, steady away, brilliant, great, whatever it might be. You kind of think, what am I doing? Surely they must be having the same issues. And it's when you dig down a little bit deeper, you find out they actually are. But you don't always get the absolute honest answer out of them first. And you kind of, everyone it's why things like this are important. And I'm a big believer in this. I'm a member of a few of these different groups that I think help to keep you level-headed. Really make sure you network well and you form good support with people who are doing the same thing as you, because you'll all have the same issues with getting paid, with finding new contracts, with dealing with contract issues. You'll all be experiencing similar things, and just it's great to have people that you can kind of use as a sounding board and get an honest answer, rather than the ones that you'll meet on a casual basis and everything's rosy, everything's brilliant. They're not going to see it. They're not going to do anything for you to see, or anything for developing you as a person. I think this kind of follows on from that point, in that you feel that everyone's better than you. And the reason I've put these slides on is because this is what I believe is my family and friends' view of business. This is what they think when they think business. They think sugar, Dragon's Den. They think of all of a sudden come from maybe here or here to here, and I've got loads of money in the bank. And I remember a specific incident which I started work on this project on the Monday. I think I went back on a Saturday for a birthday or something to go out with some of my mates, and I remember that one of my friends sort of said, "Oh, somebody's loaded, he's got his own business." Like, after a week. Like, well, that's what they think, that's what people will think. And it's because they haven't necessarily got the same knowledge that you guys have, and you've got to be prepared for that. You've got to kind of learn to manage it, if you like. And family will ask questions you've got to deal with. I mean, my mum packs chocolates on the production line. My dad was a prison officer. They have no experience whatsoever of business. They do not understand it. And that's a challenge, managing that, because they're terrified. They're absolutely terrified, but that's something that if you're on the same boat with me, you'll have to manage, because they'll be so nosy about it, and sometimes it can add to the pressure a little bit. Maybe. Depends on the relationship you have, I guess. This is the biggie for me. It's obviously fantastic that you can come to events like this. It's great. I did so many of them. I'd say I had about 2 years build up to me actually biting the bullet. No one really knows what they're doing until they do it, and it's kind of, I think that's quite a nice analogy to the baby thing, because you can go to so many antenatal classes, you can read books about whatever. You don't know how to change a napkin until you actually go and do it. And it's the same with doing this. Until you actually step into the breach and take the plunge, how do you know how it's going to work? You don't. And you'll learn so much from just doing that. So my advice is take as many opinions, as many pieces of expertise as you can. Get all the experience you can up there, and you know it will help you into that development of your business. Well, that's when you learn your soul. That's when you learn. So does that sound really passionate? Okay. So where am I going now with my business? We've got a couple of projects on the horizon. These are just things that kind of came up out of nowhere. The workshops we're doing quite well. We're doing bits and bobs that are starting to happen just because you're putting yourself out there. And like, everyone will say that to you, particularly if I don't know if anyone's planning on doing a consultancy business. Just because you're kind of putting it out there, it might be a slow lead time, and you might have to put the miles in until it starts returning a little bit. But it will happen. It will happen, and you'll be amazed that things come absolutely out of the blue. I have no idea how some of the things have happened already, but they have. And I guess it's because I've been going out and meeting people and talking to people about what my capabilities are. And that's how it's going to grow. Fingers crossed. Okay, so just to summarise, my key points from my first 6 months. Look after yourself. That's a biggie for me. I work a lot. I'm sure you're all quite driven to be successful. But there's a fine line where you can kind of forget to look after yourself, and that's not good for anyone. I actually ended up making myself quite ill in the first couple of months, and that's not good. That's not good. Keep it all in perspective. Take as much advice as possible. Lots of people will have opinions they want to give you, which is great. I know at SHU, I've used their advice so much. I've practically got my own office in there every week. Just remember that generalist advisors are giving you essentially opinions, so take as many of them as you can from as many different places to be able for you to form your own decision, if you like. So just arm yourself with as much knowledge as you can. Ultimately, the book stops you, unless it's anything down to factual things like tax and legal, obviously. Everyone's an expert. Everyone will have something they want to offer you, whether it's your friends that have never done anything like this before, or your family who have never done anything like that before. They'll all have an input. They'll all have something to say and an opinion about how you should or shouldn't be doing it. It's part of the deal. Be patient but confident. It takes time. You know, nothing worth doing was done in a week. It doesn't work like that. As I say, it's 6 months for me to take a penny out. It's a long time in anyone's book. But fingers crossed it's going to be worth it at some point in the future. It's going to be worth my while. Work smart in terms of working cleverly, manage your time well. Make sure you're actually working efficiently rather than just slaving away for the sake of slaving away. I see lots of companies do that. Around where I have my office, companies do sit for hours and hours and they don't seem to achieve an awful lot. So think about what the best way is for you to work. And trust your instincts. You've taken the plunge. You've obviously got belief in what you do, so just believe it, keep believing it, and it'll come off it. And the bottom one's a bit current. Trust no one until you've been paid. A bit of a sore point at the moment. Bob.